Hey guys, I've been sitting here for like 5 minutes freaking out trying to figure out how to start the intro for this video, and it's still not working, so I said okay, I'm just gonna push start and we'll see where it goes. The video I'm making is about suicide awareness, and I just thought it's Suicide Awareness Month and nobody ever talks about this until it happens, and I think that's super unfortunate. And just given the month, given the circumstances, given the stories that I've heard, and given my own story, that I could bring attention to the topic. I've written something out and it's pretty long, but I hope you guys bear with me and you can watch till the end. So here it goes. It was kind of around the end of freshman year going into my sophomore year of summer when I started to really get sad. It didn't matter where I was or who I was with at any given moment. I would just instantly shut down, and I would either cry or I would leave whatever I was doing, or I'd go to sleep because I physically and mentally could not handle what was going on. I never knew what was wrong or why I was sad, but it just happened and there was nothing I could do about it. I think the worst part was not knowing what was wrong because I didn't know what to change to make myself feel better. As time went on, I got really sad at one point, and I was at such a low point for so long that I started to not take care of myself. It was really hard to not open up to people because I didn't know what was wrong, so why would they know, or why would they be able to help me? I did end up telling my parents through a letter I wrote because I didn't know how else to do it. In my letter, I wrote how I didn't want to tell them because that wasn't fair to them, and now they had to deal with me and making sure I was okay on top of everything else going on in their own life. I'm so nervous, I'm sorry. I definitely regret not getting help from a professional. I had talked about it so many times with my mom, and that I wouldn't be sad for a while and then it would get really bad again, so we would talk about going, but we never actually did go. I think talking to someone would have made the difference because I tried handling it on my own in ways that were not healthy, and it always ended up getting worse. As time went on and things in my life changed, I would be really good for a couple weeks and then super bad for a month, or I'd be good for a couple days and then bad again. But regardless, there was never a long period of time where I was genuinely happy. This is something that I really struggled with and was always bothered by because I've been told by so many people that I'm such a big light in their life, but none of them really knew how sad I was. Only so many people knew what was going on with me, and it was so awful, and I never wanted to tell anyone, but I knew that I needed to get the help, whatever that might have been. Fast forward a couple years and it did get better, but it also got really bad again, and I'd continue to stop taking care of myself in different ways because I was so overwhelmed and I felt like I could only accomplish so many things in one day. Still, I struggle with being sad, and most of the time I don't know why I'm sad. It's something that just comes over me and I do my best to block it out, but I think that's one of the biggest problems. We can't block out how we feel, and we can't not talk about it because eventually it is all going to build up, and one day it's going to become the unbearable burden that might end a life. People will turn to anything to try and take the pain away, to forget for just a second, to escape the sadness. They'll turn to friends or relationships or partying, but it's never enough. Friends will let you down, heartbreak is real, and partying only leads to a hangover the next day that makes you feel worse than before. I think that's what happens a lot in life. Kids get too scared to talk about how they feel, or maybe you do talk about it, but nobody helps or nobody pays any mind to you. So then as time goes on and it goes on and it goes and it goes and nothing changes, we feel as if there is no other option, and that the only thing left to do is to leave, which isn't the case, but some people think it is. Every time this happens, every time someone that we know kills himself, or a friend of a friend or whoever it may be ends their life, even if you don't know them personally, we instantly feel the need to take blame. The immediate thoughts rush through your head. What if I would have reached out to them one more time? What if I would have smiled at them? What if I would have gone out of my way to do this or that? But it's not our fault, and we couldn't have known this would happen unless they had reached out. Yes, there are signs that could be read, and every situation is different, but it starts with you. That's why I'm here, really. I'm here to say that if you are struggling or if you are hurting, you have to reach out. You cannot stay quiet because it will become unbearable in the outcome, whether it be self-harm or death or something else. It's not the answer. One of the biggest things about suicide that the victim doesn't think about is everyone else. They've convinced themselves that no one cares about them, so it's okay if they leave. But that's the thing. It affects so many people. We have to come together and realize what is happening around us and keep our eyes peeled for signs of someone who might be walking down the wrong path or struggling or needing help, and we have to help them. And if that means reaching out to them and saying, I'm here, and them rejecting you, that's fine. But a couple days later, reach out to them again. We have to keep trying. We have to understand that our actions impact other people, and if we walk around as a mean person, or if we don't talk to people with kind words, or something so simple as we never smile at anyone, then maybe they're going to start thinking that something's wrong with them, and that we're not giving them attention because we don't like them or they're not good enough. And again, we can't always blame it on ourselves, but that's just sometimes how it works. Maybe we had a bad day and we didn't smile at that person, and that's okay because it happens, but we have to try, and we have to go into life every day thinking that if I smile, or if I laugh, or if I do this around this person, that it will impact some person so positively. But if I keep my head down and I don't look at anyone, I do everything the opposite of how I should, it is going to affect people in such a bad way. There was a time in my life where I found out one of my best friends was cutting themselves, and I was so saddened by it, and knowing that they weren't the only one who did this in the world, and it broke my heart. And I always thought to myself, wow, I can never do that. I'd never let that happen to me. But then one day it did. One day I was so sad and it was so unbearable and I needed to get it out somehow. I thought that this cut would eventually heal, so my sadness would also eventually heal. This wasn't something that happened very often, but every time I did, I said the same thing to myself. I always told myself I would heal. And I only bring this up to address the fact that I've only told 2 people that this happened, and none of you guys would ever know unless you saw it or unless I'm telling you right now. And I think that's a perfect way to sum up how depression works and how the depression leads to suicide. No one's going to know how you're feeling unless you tell them. That's really what it boils down to. Not only as a community, but also in your relationships with your friends. You have to be checking in on people and telling people how you feel. There's a lot of factors that come together what make up the events leading to a suicide, but then it's one thing that leads to another and so on and so forth, and the biggest thing we can do to prevent it is by communicating. If we are not communicating with each other, then we don't know what might happen to the people we love. I like to communicate with people about how I'm feeling by typing it out because I really hate talking in person. So many times I've just spewed out how I feel in notes and then shared it with people, and it's the easiest way. This is something that I wrote back in December. So most of you know we're at the point of the year where depression really sits in people's lives and everyone gets these super dark and sad thoughts. And I've just been thinking a lot about my life and how since middle school I've known too many people that have taken themselves out of this world because they didn't want to be here anymore. And I just want to reflect on myself from this time last year until now and look at how much I've grown and changed. This past year was probably the worst year of my life pertaining to my health. I was constantly sad and constantly crying for absolutely no reason. Nothing sad or drastic had happened to me. I was just sad. And I didn't know how to handle it, so I would just build it up and build it up and build it up, and then it would get to be too much, and I never really handled it in the way I should have. And day after day, I would have these horrible thoughts come to my head, but of course they were always pushed out, otherwise I wouldn't be typing this right now. I just remember always being surrounded by people I loved and people who loved me, but I somehow still felt so alone and so overwhelmed with depression, and I never wanted to talk about it because I never had anything to say, no excuse to be sad. And I remember every time I was alone and I had these thoughts, there was always a better reason to stay. I was in a relationship with someone who also felt this way, and he was there for me when I needed it, and he knew it all. One time he told me that right before I came into his life, he was at such a low point before I showed up. But then I did come into his life, and that some of those thoughts and feelings went away, and that I became his rock. This stopped me from doing anything crazy because if I wasn't here, who's going to be his rock? I have the bestest friend in the whole wide world who I share everything with and do everything with, and I basically live with. We confide in each other, and I trust her with my life. And if I wasn't here for her, who was she going to share all of that with? I remember meeting another one of my best friends right around this time, somewhere around the holidays, and hearing about her pregnancy and that the dad didn't want to be involved, and I just remember knowing that if I just came into her life and then left because things got hard on my end, I would be just like her baby daddy and act like she didn't exist, and that's not the person I wanted to be. I knew that I needed to be here for her as she grows up being a single mom. I knew that I needed to be here to watch her child grow up and surround her with so much love that she would be lacking from her father. I remember thinking about all of my cousins and how much they look up to me. How would my family explain to my 9-year-old cousin that I wasn't alive anymore? That's not a normal dinner topic. And even then, how would my adult family take it? They couldn't blame themselves because they didn't know how bad it really was because I never told them the worst of it. My family knew, and they jokingly said it was because I didn't spend enough time with them. But they did know. And we did look into me seeing a therapist, but I never did anything. Big mistake. But that just leads me to the whole point of my long depressing saga. It's okay to get help, and it's okay to be sad, but it is not okay to do nothing like I did. I wish with my whole heart that I would have reached out to my mom more and told her how badly I wanted to talk to someone so I could fix the sadness and make it go away. I get that talking to a stranger isn't everyone's idea of a good time, but I know that these therapists are professionals and do their job just for this reason, to help and to save, to help you from feeling this way and to save you from leaving. I don't think I can express how important it is that you do not sit there and take in everything on your own, that you know how much you are loved and cared for, and that no one wants to see or know that you're suffering alone. There will always be something greater to look forward to when you're sad, and even if you're sitting there sad, trying to think of what that might be and are coming up empty-handed, you just have to trust that there is something greater. There's some better reason to stay, some better person, or some memory. Or thing that you've always wanted to do. And if you can't stay for yourself, stay for the people around you. Stay for your best friends, your baby cousins who adore you, your parents, your siblings, your relatives, the guy or girl who was thinking about asking for your number the next day, that teacher who is always in a good mood when you walk into the class because they love seeing you, that person that you smile at every day because you know they don't have very many friends and you want to be your friend and you want to be their friend. If you can't stay for yourself, stay for the people who want you to stay. I'm at a completely different state of mind now. I look at everything with a different mindset and have different goals with every obstacle life throws at me. I don't know who, what, when, where, or why I got out of my sadness, but I'm free now. I obviously still have bad days where I'll get sad, but it's nothing like it ever was before. I find myself being constantly happy and constantly laughing all the time, as opposed to being sad and crying. Life is about taking on challenges and being happy with your successes, but also learning from your failures and on what to do next time. Moving forward and continuing what I was writing today, I look at my life now and think about all the times I've been sad in, let's say, the last month. And I try to think about what I was doing when I got sad and what I did to fix it. Most of the time I was alone and I didn't fix it. I slept it off until the next day and just tried to get over it. But that doesn't work anymore. It can't work. We all wish we could bring back that one person who thought it was their time to go. Just to bring them back for 5 minutes to try and convince them that there's so much more to life than they could ever imagine. But it doesn't work that way. So that's why we have to make the change today. We have to change our mindset on the situation. I used to ask myself, why me, God? Why do I have to be sad? Why aren't you giving me answers? And it wasn't until a couple weeks ago that I got my answer. We had a guest pastor who absolutely blew my mind. He said, God doesn't waste your pain. And I genuinely think that changed my whole outlook on everything I've gone through. He continued to say how we go through various hardships so we can have the experience and knowledge to then have empathy for other people going through the same thing. I've had multiple conversations with so many people about their mental health, and it all makes sense to me now why I've been able to connect with them so well. Here's a message I shared with someone who was struggling to get out of bed every day. I said, we'll definitely take it one day at a time. I'm sure you already know this, though. Try making a physical checklist of things you need to get done the next day in chronological order, and try to get them all done, most important first. And remember, it's okay if you don't get everything done because it's a process getting back into routine. Same goes for what you're going to eat because you have to eat. Cut up all your fruit and vegetables in one day so that it's ready for the week. 30 minutes in one day is less time than 10 minutes a day every day trying to figure out what you're going to eat. Don't overpack and overwhelm your schedule, but don't spend every waking moment wanting to shut people out. Some people want to only be around others so they feel secure, and other people want to isolate themselves, but you have to find a good balance to be around people who love and support you, while also keeping time for yourself to just rest. Your feelings matter most, and if people can't understand that, then do not waste your time trying to help them understand. If you get really sad and don't know what to do, don't be afraid to call or text me, or anyone that you're close to. I've also noticed a lot for myself that the music I play and how I'm spending my time on my phone plays a huge role in my mood. I try to go on Pinterest more than Instagram, and I try making a funny throwback playlist instead of listening to sad rap songs. I also love today's comedy on Pandora, although it is a little inappropriate. It's quite funny and it always makes me laugh. Moving forward to what I'm continuing to write, I said I wish I could send this to every person who ever thought about wanting to end their life. It is such a small lifestyle change that can make waking up and starting your day so much easier. You have control of your life and you get to choose what you do with it every day. I think there's only so much I can say in such a short amount of time without losing your attention. So if there's something that you could take away from this video, then here it is. Your actions impact others. You have to communicate how you're feeling to others. We have to reach out to others, and you're not alone. We all have a purpose and a reason for being here, and if you feel like you're struggling to find it, don't give up. Don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on others. You will find your purpose. I hope that you were able to watch this entire video, and I hope that you could take something away from it.